Hey all, today we're going to do the absolute dead basics of making a little bit of a platformer in GameMaker using GameMaker Visual. So I'm here in my GameMaker IDE. I'm going to make a new blank game that we're going to call Platformer 1. So this is going to be my first version of a platformer. Alright, first things first, I need a couple of sprites. So I'm going to go into sprites. I'm going to hit create. I'm going to create a sprite. I'm going to go ahead and make my sprites, let's see. We're going to make our player sprite 16 by 16. We're going to need to name this, which I forgot to do, and we're going to name it SPR_player. And then we're going to go ahead and go into edit image, and I'm just going to do a little bit of randomness. So I'm going to make a filled in ellipse that's kind of green. I'm going to make another filled in ellipse that's white. We'll get our little guy some eyes. Oops, that's not where I wanted that. So, couple of eyes there. I'm going to go ahead and just toss a little bit of blue in the bottom of these. Not totally sure I'm happy with this, but I think... we'll just go like that. Think that'll look alright. And then we need some kind of a little mouth, so I'm just going to go in here and we're going to kind of rando pixel a little smirkiness on our guy. And then I'm just going to save this guy. So that's me done with this, so I'm just going to close this guy. That's my player sprite. I'm going to go ahead and make another new sprite. And my another new sprite here, I'm going to make this guy 32 by 32. So these are going to be a bit bigger than my player. And then we're going to go ahead and hit apply to that. And then I'm going to hit edit image. And here I'm going to make a basically brown background because my goal here is to kind of make some grass looking stuff. So we're going to go basically brown here. Let's take a like basically green up here. Oops, pencil. Just throw in a little random texture in here. And let's throw some, oops, that's the same green. Let's throw some slightly other green texture in here. And maybe yet some more slightly other green texture. Making sprites is a whole thing. I'm not hella good at it. I just kind of dabble. So if this is not your favorite sprite creation method, hey, like, go for it. Honestly, I'm just throwing stuff together here. I think these are actually going to look alright. We'll see. Okay, so that's my sprites created. Oh, one thing. I'm going to open both my sprites back up, and I'm going to say, I want these middle centered. So that's me saying, I want to handle these by the middles. And that's just going to make my life generally easier, so everything's handled by the same. Now I'm going to go into my room. I'm going to make my room here. Well, I'm going to go ahead and make this 512 by 256. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead up here and set my grid size to be my player's size. So that's going to be 16 by 16. And then we're just going to hit zoom here. And just get my room centered up a little bit. Okay, so I got my room, I got my sprites. I need some objects now, so I'm going to go into my little objects folder here. I'm going to hit create objects. I'm going to make an object that I'm going to call obj player. And I'm going to make another one that I'm going to call obj, there we go, create object. This is going to be obj grass. And obviously you could create more different kinds of blocks if you wanted. You could make the friction different for them. That's a whole thing that we could do. I'm just going to go ahead and make this real basic because I'm assuming we're just getting started. So I've got my player sprite here. I've got my grass sprite here. The grass isn't going to get any events or anything, so I'm just going to close that. I'm done playing with that thing. The player is going to get some events. So those events are going to be, we're going to need a step event. And I'm going to tell this that I'm working in visual, and I'm going to tell it not to ask again. If you want the same tutorial in GameMaker code, a lot of people have done that tutorial. I'm trying to supply some drag and drop tutorials, so here's a drag and drop tutorial. Let's see, I'm going to need a couple of things in my player here, so I'm going to need to add some variables. I'm going to add 3 variables. They're going to be x speed, they're going to be y speed, and they're going to be one that I'm going to call lost. This is maybe not the absolute best way to do the lost variable, but I want to demonstrate that it's working. So we're gonna have that in here, and we're gonna set that to false to start with. So that's why I unchecked true. So we haven't lost the game yet. All right, now in our step function or our step event here, we're gonna need to do some stuff. That stuff, first things first, I'm going to assign some kind of a gravity variable. I'm not going to use the built-in gravity for this because I can't get it to work with the move and collide. That might be a failing on my part personally. If you can get it to work and you want to leave me a detailed comment or make another YouTube video and hit me up with an explanation, that'd be sweet. I haven't been able to get it to work that way, so I'm going to use it kind of artificial here. So I'm just going to start by saying that we're going to take our y speed, we're going to add 0.1 to that relative. So that's going to make our character fall down. Okay, and in order to check that that's working, we're going to need to get some stuff in our main room. So let's go back to our room here. And I'm on the instances layer here. So I'm going to drag a player object in here. And I'm going to drag some grass in here. So I'm just going to spam some grass. There's a cool trick to this. You just hold down the Alt key and you can just kind of spam grass wherever you want. So we're going to get some grass blocks in here. Oops. I'm going to delete that last one. I'm going to leave us a space that we could fall down and die. Leave another couple of spaces over here. Okay. So I've got my little platformer kind of setup going. I'm going to hit run on this. Let's see what we've got. I'm expecting the player to move. Player's not moving. That's unfortunate. So the reason our player's not moving is we haven't actually told it to move. So we change the variable, but we change the variable that we declared, right? This y speed variable doesn't mean anything to the program yet. So I need to get this thing moving. So this is where I'm going to go grab the move and collide, which looks like this guy. So I'm going to grab a move and collide. And we're going to collide with grass objects. And the x distance we're going to try to move is going to be given by our x speed variable. The y distance we're going to try to move is going to be given by the y speed variable. I'm going to leave all this other stuff for default. I'll make a more detailed explanation of this move and collide thing later. Or you can look it up in the reference. And it's got an explanation there. So essentially what it does is we try to move by x speed and y speed. We try to move that way in like 4 steps. These are some speed limits. These are how close we should get to things. So I'm letting everything touch. Let's try this and see. So there I've got my little character. He falls down. I can't control him. I don't know if you can hear me clicking keys here, but I can't move him around at all. So we need to get him moving around. So that's going to be our next step. We're just going to get some key controls. So we're going to grab a if key down event here. And the key I'm going to want down is going to be the letter key A. So that's our go left. And I'm going to assign a variable based on that. And I'm going to assign the variable left. Oops, sorry, that's an if. That's not what I want. I want a set variable. Oops, it's not called set, it's called assign. So we're going to assign a variable. The variable I'm going to assign is going to be called left. I'm going to make it 1. I'm going to grab an else here. And we're going to, again, use an assign there. So notice I'm dragging these onto this right edge so they actually attach. So we want, if we've pressed the A key, we'll set the left variable to 1. And if we haven't, if it's not down, we'll press the left key to 0. Now, I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy it and paste it. And I'm going to scoot it down a little bit. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy this one and we're going to, yeah, that's fine. Oh, come on. Don't complain. So it helps if you select this event before you try to paste and it'll paste it next to it. So now these are going to be about the ordinal key D. Right? So if we're pressing the D key, we're going to want to do right set to 1, and we're going to want to do right set to 0 if we're not. And now I'm going to need an assignment, and the variable that I'm going to assign here is going to be the x speed variable. And we're going to assign the x speed variable the designation or the calculation right minus left. So if we're going left, right, if we have the A key down and not the D key, right minus left is going to give me -1. That's going to tend to move me towards the negative x. That's to the left. If I have the right key down and not the left key, I'm going to get 1 minus 0, so we're going to move to the right. If I have neither key down, we're going to get 0 minus 0, so we're not going to move at all. If we have both keys down, we're going to get 1 minus 1, also 0. We're not going to move at all. So we should be able to see that we're moving now left and right. Got a bit of a problem here. So it worked for a second, and then it stopped working. And I have this sneaking suspicion that's because I'm trying to do my Y collision first. So let me turn the Y distance off, and let's check and see if we've got X and Y working. Or sorry, left and right moving. So, yep, I've got left and right movement working. But if I put my Y speed in here, we have a bit of an issue. And the reason for this issue right now is that right now, the character's trying to move down and to the right instead of just to the right. When I press the D key, it's trying to move down and right. So I need to do a little bit of speed controlling here with my Y speed. I need to check if there's an object in the way. So we're going to go grab the if object at place, and I'm going to put that right underneath my variable. And the object at place that I'm going to check for is a grass object. And we're going to check in X and Y relative, and we're going to check the Y speed. So we're going to go, if we're trying to move Y speed from where we are and 0 in the X direction, right? So if we're trying to move down and we're running into a grass block, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to assign a variable, and the variable I'm going to assign here is going to be the Y speed variable, and I'm going to set that to 0. So that's going to cause my Y speed to 0 out when we're standing on a block. So now I can scoot over, even though down and left or down and right of me is the block, because we're no longer trying to move down once we're on the grass block. You might notice this window is like hella small. That's kind of annoying, so we should probably fix that at some point. But let's get jumping working, and then we'll fix that. Okay, So the other thing you might have is you might want a speed limit on how fast you can fall so you don't clip through things. So let's impose that speed limit here. So I'm just going to get an if variable in here, and the thing we're going to if on is y speed. And if y speed is ever greater than, I don't know, let's say 8's a reasonable speed limit. And if the y speed is ever greater than 8, we're going to assign a variable. And the variable we're going to assign is going to be y speed. And we're going to set y speed to 8. So that's going to cap our speed. Now, in order to check that this is going to work, I'm going to need a little bit of a display of my speed. So this is me doing a little debugging. We could open up the debugger to do that. I'm going to just add an event to this. And the event I'm going to add is just a draw event. Then in here, what I'm going to do is I need two things. The first thing we're going to do is we're just going to draw a value. So our caption is going to read, current, falling. Actually, you know what? Let's skip the current. Let's just go with falling speed. And then the speed we want to print out is our y speed. And I'm just going to leave those blank. So that's going to draw our falling speed up in the top left corner. You might notice that something bad has happened here. The bad thing that happened is my guy is gone. So there's this fundamentally annoying thing that when you put a draw in, it automatically overrides the default draw. And the default draw is this draw self thing. So throw that draw self thing in there, and that'll get your guy to show back up. Okay, so I got my little guy, and now I can see that if I scoot off of a ledge, I start falling, but when I'm standing here on grass, I'm not falling. Cool. So let's go get us jumping working. So I've got my key down kind of things, so I'm just going to grab another one of those key downs. Oh, and I only want to be able to jump. Okay, let's grab a key down. Let's see. I'm just going to drop this in right here. So we're going to drop in an if key down. It's a space bar. We're going to assign a variable here. The variable that I'm going to assign is going to be my y speed. And we're going to say it's like -6 relative. Oh, -6 is going to be way too far. We'll go -3. Okay, so let's hit play here. Okay. Whoa. Something bad happened there. Uh-oh. Well, our speed limit thing works. That's a plus. What did happen there? Okay, so he's fallen. Oh, there he is again. All right. Bit of a problem. The problem that I've got is, well, I used a if key down, and I wonder if maybe that wouldn't have worked better. I think I'm jumping like multiple times. Let me maybe scrap the relative part of that, and let's see how that acts. Don't be afraid to mess around with your code. Okay, but this created this weird thing of where I can fly. But this is working more predictably. You'll see that I'm never getting those like absolutely enormous numbers. The fastest I can ever go up is 3 pixels per frame. So the relative part there kind of hosed me. The key down part is also a little funky. Right now, what I'm seeing is that I can jump when I'm already in midair. So I'd like it to not have that property. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this key down thing, and I'm actually just going to jam this into our if object at place. So if we set the vertical speed to 0, right, that's because we're standing on something. And then we can engage this. If they're pressing the spacebar, we'll move up. This will not let me fly anymore, because this code will only engage once there's an object underneath us for us to jump off of. So No double jumps in this game. This is just a single jump game. So here, if I'm on the grass, I can jump. You can see that I'm kind of hopping regularly. I want to highlight something. So I want to go look at a key pressed event here. So I'm just going to drop a key pressed in here and scoot my assignment. So essentially I'm commenting this out. We could Control K that to turn it off. And now we're going to see the jumping behavior with pressed. So I'm holding the spacebar down right now, and I'm picking it up, pressing it, and holding it down. So this creates a different behavior that I find really annoying. I really don't want to be holding the spacebar down and not have jumping happen. So I'm going to do Control-Shift-K to turn key down on and delete this key pressed. But if you want your game to work that way, swap a key pressed in there. Just be aware those are a little bit different, right? Okay, so I've got my key down with my space bar, right? That's my jumping, and it's inside my if object at place. Okay. Now I think I'm good to go. Pretty well working. Let's check. So I think the only thing I haven't dealt with is I can't really lose this game at the moment. If we just hop into one of these cracks, all that happens is our falling speed gets to 8, and we just keep on keeping on. So what I'd like to do is make some kind of a loss condition, right? So for a loss condition, I'm just going to, at the bottom of this, after everything is said and done, I'm going to put in another if statement. And the if statement that I'm going to put in here at the bottom is going to be just about the y position. So if the y position is greater than or equal to the height of the room, then we're going to need to assign a variable. And the variable we're going to assign is lost. And we're going to set lost to true. And then we need to make something happen based on that. So the based on that I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to throw in an if statement. And our variable is going to be if lost is not equal to true. Oops, sorry. If lost is equal to true, then we'll want to draw a value. So we're going to do draw value. That's going to attach to this guy. And the caption here is just going to be you lost womp womp or something, right? So we're going to do lost, and we're going to put that at room width over 2 and room height over 2. And those aren't going to be relative. That's just going to be where we draw it. You might be tempted to destroy the instance here. That's not a bad idea. It's just not going to happen to work the way I've set this up. So we're going to bounce over here to one of these gaps and hop down a gap. And we're going to see a you lost text underneath all of our objects there. Might be better to put that up here in the corner where you're not going to miss it. I actually don't need the falling speed anymore. That was just a check, so I'm going to turn that off. And I'm going to go ahead and put this back in the middle of or back in that upper corner. So let's hit run on this. And let's go check our lose condition. We can jump off the left side of the level. And we got a you lost. Great. If we wanted to be a little bit more varsity with this, we'd put the you lost stuff in a game object. So, you know, what the heck. Let's deal with the room resizing first, and then I'll go ahead and do that other thing. So, the room resize thing, I'm going to hit create a room. This room I'm going to just call the size room. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to make it the first room in order. And then I already have it open here, so I'm going to go ahead and set this width to whatever I want the that thing to actually display as. So my room right now is 512 by 256. Let's say I wanted it to display at exactly double that. So I want it to display at 1024 by 512. This empty room is now 1024 by 512, and since it's the home room, that's the default for every room going forward in the game, even if they're set to different sizes as you go along. This lets you do some kind of auto scaling. You can also use the viewports, but they're a little bit complicated. So here we go. Here's a size room. The problem with this is when I start the game, it launches into this room, which looks the right size but doesn't have anything in it. So what I want to do is move it to the next room along. So I'm just going to grab the creation code here, and I'm just going to grab the next room, go to next room function. I'm just going to drop that in here. So that's as soon as this room is created, it's going to skip to the next room. So we should see that fix our sizing issue. Great. Sizing sorted. Cool. And now we can hop off and we can see that we in fact lost. Great. Let me show you how to handle that with a game object real quick. Should only take a second. So all I'm going to do in here is I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a new object. I'm going to call this obj game. And all I'm going to do is drag some of this stuff out of the player, basically. So I'm going to grab the if variable and draw variable. So we're just going to go ahead and copy that code here. We're going to hit add event. It's going to be a draw event. And we're going to go ahead and paste that code in here. I'm going to go up here into this guy and hit Control K and Control K. So I'm turning off all the draw event essentially. Now this variable lost doesn't make any sense here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add that variable to the game object. So we're going to go ahead and add lost as a variable. We're going to say it's a Boolean. We're going to say it's false to start with. Great. And then in our player object, when we get down here to the bottom, instead of setting lost, which sets it in the player object, we're going to do obj game dot lost, comes right up, is going to be set to true. So that's going into the game object and setting lost. And then we just need to get the game object onto the screen. So we're going to go into our room here, and we're in the instances layer. I'm just going to grab this game object. It's not going to render on the screen, so I'm just going to put it someplace. I kind of like to pile them somewhere convenient where they're out of the way. And then we're going to hit run. And let's see if that worked. We hopped off the screen. We got a you lost message. Great. Awesome. Now we can go ahead and just deal with the memory leak problem that we had created for ourselves. Right now I've got that player hopping off the screen and they're not being destroyed, so we're keeping track of the player forever. Even if we made a reset method or something to spawn a new player, that original one would probably be like carrying on in the world. So what I'm going to do is here, when we assign this variable, I'm just going to destroy the instance. And so that's gonna remove our player entirely. So we'll have to recreate the player if we need another one. But that's gonna be safest for memory management. Hope this is helpful. We could add a little flag and maybe a go to next room, but it would work basically the same way that we made this other stuff work. So I'm hopeful you can figure it out from here. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Thank you.